All right, welcome, Buddy Book Club. I'm Dylan here with the second half of my two-man band, Keith. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. Good to talk to you. We're breaking down some bestsellers, and this week we'll be rocking out to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. If you'd like to recommend a book for us to read or reach out to us about any past episodes, you can visit our website, buddybookclub.com, or slide into our DMs on Twitter and Instagram, Buddy Book Club Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes and Spotify, so please download and subscribe. Keith, Daisy Jones and the Six, recommended to you by our guest, coming up, your boy, Tucker, a.k.a. Billy Dunne. Summary. I'd say it's a story about how drugs make you remember things differently. Or you could say it's an oral rockumentary of a fictional 1970s rock band. Which one do you prefer?
I like the first, yeah. If you told me this is a true story, I would have no idea that it wasn't. You know, it's just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Well, it's funny because my girlfriend read like the first 25%, listened to the audiobook, and thought it was
really?
thought it was a real band.
Hey, I'm not going to throw stones at anyone thinking things that aren't fictional that are, because I've done that multiple times, including Greek mythology.
You're like, who is this Achilles guy? He seems pretty cool. But no, I didn't fault her for thinking it was a true story at all. If anything, the only thing that came to my mind was how good the audiobook was and how good of a job, how well of a job, whatever, Taylor Jenkins Reid did of researching and writing this book in a way that made you feel like you were part of it.
Yeah, I would say it's like Almost Famous plus a Goodfellas story arc. It's not like Goodfellas, but you know, like that narration and that rags to riches with an epic fall. You know what's going to happen in the whole story, and it's still really, really engaging and interesting.
Yeah, and you saw it from the oral history, what happened, but if you kind of put yourself into the mindset of someone in this fictional universe where this is a real band, you know, maybe your parents were a huge fan of this band, or you listened to them and no one really knew how they broke up. You know, it'd be almost like, I mean, they're less than the Beatles, but it'd be like the Beatles breaking up, but if they just stopped one night, like this was their last tour, and then all of a sudden they just didn't tour anymore. And now this oral history comes out that breaks it down, and you actually see it's like, holy smokes, there was so much going on there. And you could have potentially been able to figure that out from like the song lyrics and stuff like that, but especially in a pre-internet age, I don't know. I just thought the whole way she put it together was really well done. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We got a lot of categories to go through. We might touch on this stuff anyways. Like I said, we got our buddy Tucker coming up quickly, and he's actually going to join us for our next segment regarding libations because it's right up Keith's alley. So let's just bring Tucker in right now. All right, we got a special guest today, Tucker, a.k.a. Billy Dunne himself, visiting in with his Canadian tuxedo. Love to see it. We normally have guests on for Stock Up, Stock Down segment, but particularly for this book, and considering Keith is a big coffee cocktail connoisseur, if you will, Tucker, can you give a little intro and then take us away with your libation?
To be honest, Dylan, I thought Daisy'd get tired of trying to write an album pretty quickly. I underestimated her. Let me tell you this. Don't ever doubt Daisy Jones.
Did you listen to the audiobook? That was spot on.
I was channeling my inner Pablo Schreiber there. Really, really doing my best. Season 2 of The Wire never gets enough love. Appreciate the intro. My libation today is pretty tailored to the book that we all just finished here. I'm drinking what Daisy Jones and a few other execs in Hollywood call an up and down, which is just your nice combination of coffee and a little bubbly little champagne. So there's a little bit of you're down in your morning, but then there's also a little bit to keep you up and keep things interesting.
Yeah, so Keith has pioneered the CoVo, which is his happy hour drink. Coffee and vodka, I mean, it's pretty simple. I think the name itself is better than an up-down. But, Keith, I want to know, one, how do you feel about the idea of champagne and coffee? And two, can it be pulled into your umbrella of coffee-based cocktails?
Yeah, I mean, we're being selling multiple products here. CoVo is just the name brand, and it branches out to every single thing possible here. So we're fine with that. I've never heard of that, to be honest with you.
You read the book.
Was it in the book?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
It's an older beverage, Keith. It's been around since maybe, 1972 or so. It's got some legacy here.
I even mentioned, like, I texted you and I said, hey, I got the libation ready. That's like my first note. And you just like gave me a thumbs up. Like it was going to be beer or something or heroin. Like you're like, oh, you're going to do heroin for the podcast?
I thought it was going to be like cocaine and, an orange juice. That's what I assumed, but whatever.
Loose pills and lint.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So thank you for the libation. This is our first guest libation, which I appreciate. Let's jump straight into now stock up, stock down. It's an ethereal category. It really doesn't make any sense, and I think it's going to tie back pretty well to this book itself. So I think, Keith, to give Tuck the intro here, I think you start with the first one. Keith, what do you have for stock up?
Best ability being availability. Stock up. Daisy says at one point that she's only hooking up with her manager, Hank, because he's around, which I guess would be an insult to a lot of people. But for me, I love that. That's all it's about. Just being around, just being present. You don't want to be on the IL. You don't want to be on the injured list. It's not about being attractive. It's not about having talent. It's just being there, okay? And that's how I've lived my life. How do you think I have a girlfriend? I mean, this is what it's all about. Huge stock up for this. I guess Hank was a piece of shit, but yeah. That's neither here nor there. The fact that he could hook up with the Daisy Jones just by being there, that gives hope to all of us talentless guys like myself. So, stock up.
So, Hank is, in your theory, like a next man up in the rock and roll world. You got an injury on the A-list.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like a more average Cal Ripken type.
Yeah, just an everyday player. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I can dig it. I think one of my first stock up is going to tie into that in terms of the next man up mentality. So, I'll chamber that. But, Tuck, what do you got for stock up?
My first stock up is Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, stock's pretty high. People love Fleetwood Mac.
And I was somebody who really came into Daisy Jones and the Six with very limited knowledge for Fleetwood Mac. So, I did a little research after the book, learned that Taylor Jenkins Reid, our lovely author, was inspired by stories that she had heard about Fleetwood Mac. Did a little research on them and pulled out some great nuggets from them, which tell me if these things sound familiar. So the band had a married couple, Christine and John McVie, who got divorced, but then they were on again, off again, until Christine started hooking up with the sound engineer and lighting director. Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks, they also had an on again, off again relationship. During the recording of their most popular album, Rumors, which we can just call Aurora for this conversation, they had a velvet bag of cocaine that they left on a mixing table in the recording studio with a diamond-studded spoon.
Yes.
Apparently so much cocaine was done during this album that they gave him credit in the album notes.
They gave cocaine credit?
I'm sorry, their coke dealer.
Oh, okay.
His name was Pablo.
You're referring to cocaine as them?
Yeah. Well, don't assume cocaine's gender, okay?
I apologize. You're right.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I've been on a massive Fleetwood kick ever since I read the book.
And cocaine kick too, but yeah, no.
Living in, can't you tell? I even it out with a couple up and downs a day.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, of course.
And you got to have those doxies or whatever pills were in her pocket. Dexos? I didn't look any of this stuff up.
Sleeping pills, right? Pretty much.
It segues into my next stock up, which is just street names for drugs. I think are just like so funny, so clever. Dexos, Bennies, Black Beauties, Reds.
What are Black Beauties and what are Reds? Asking for a friend.
I know their prices and everything when I buy them. I just don't know what they are.
They are, I don't know, something that you find inside a Daisy Jones pocket. Those loose pills and lint that we were talking about earlier. One of my favorite characters in the book was the drummer, Warren. Shout out to Warren for just being along for the ride the whole time. But there's like that one part in the book where he sees Jay-Z popping the pills and starts asking her about it, and she gets like really defensive. Like, don't tell Karen about him. I told her that I stopped taking them. To which Warren's response was just like, oh, I don't really care. I just want to know what they are so I can take them.
Yeah, I wasn't asking about the pills like to confront you. I was asking because I want one.
Because I want them.
Yeah, I respect that. All right, these are some good stock ups. My first stock up, and I guess I'll start with what Keith was alluding to with the next man up. First stock up, Vietnam War. So probably a stock down for most. I mean, this stock is really just not even trading. It's not even a pink slip stock. But talk about how lucky Eddie is. He's like the Pete Best of this band, right? because Pete Best being the drummer that played for the Beatles, and then they kicked him out and Ringo started.
Sure.
Because their buddy, I can't remember what his name was, because no one can, it's not in history, because he just went to Vietnam and then died within the first 6 months. Eddie gets the gig, and he's the rhythm guitarist, and
He's the opposite of Pete Best, you're saying.
yeah, so the other guy was the Pete Best. But yeah, so then he gets to play in a band, even though he's like a total creepy piece of shit, and makes millions, even though he's complaining about it every day, when really he should be thanking his lucky stars that Ho Chi Minh created that trail. So yeah, Vietnam War, stock up, baby!
This is a common theme that you love communism. It's another feather in the communist cap there. Kid loving Vietnam,
Hey,
loving everything about it.
The French came in there. They tried to make Vietnam a colony. The only thing they left was delicious baguettes so that we could have banh mi's. Outside of that, the Vietnam people had to rebel. I'm Team Vietnam. Go get them.
All right.
Well, except for like all the dead Americans. That part sucks. But yeah.
I like how all your history is tied into food. The reason you know about this is not because, that you're interested in the war. You're like,
Yeah, damn. Have you had a good banh mi, dude? Those things are amazing.
Bon who?
Oh, that's a top 5 sandwich.
What'd you have for stock up, Keith?
My next stock up. This stock's pretty high, but writing a song about someone. Firstly, shout out to Love Song by Sarah Bareilles. What a jam that song is. But that song's about how she doesn't want to write a love song about someone.
Yeah, fire song.
That's the Antichrist of love songs.
Yeah, it's amazing. So that's kind of where my perspective is. But this book is all about, basically, if you write a song about someone, they fall in love with you instantly. So when it came to Billy and Daisy, how they're like, the chemistry, once he wrote a song about her, is like undeniable. And every single relationship was based off of some song that was written. And this kind of makes me now understand why that guy in the corner at the party that's playing the guitar is so popular. I never understood that. The girls are like, I want this dude to write a song about me, because that gets the girls going. And I just hate that I just realized that. I wish I had a speck of musical talent so that I could actually take advantage of that and write a song, because I feel like my game would be amazing. And by amazing, I mean slightly improved from zero.
I could see you being a great accordion player.
Accordion.
Hey, you guys want to hear Wonderwall on the accordion?
Gotcha.
All right, Tucker, do you have any other stock up?
I do. I'm looking forward to Keith's relationship book, which I think, based off of his takes, he should have one coming out by the end of next year.
Thank you.
Just being the utility, everyday man, just being present, but with a couple of songs in your back pocket where you can just change out the girl's name just in case.
That's 100% right.
Yeah, for stock up, bands that fly too close to the sun. It's definitely one that you could see pretty early on with Daisy Jones and the Six, when they had that tour that culminated with the Rolling Stones writer coming, and Daisy, she dumped her manager Hank, who took her backup band and left. Karen and Graham just started hooking up, fireworks exploding there, and then you also had Eddie, who was just fuming and just wanted to break Billy's face. And I think at that point you could just kind of tell that they were going on a roller coaster ride, and it probably wasn't going to end well. And I think if you look back at some of the more popular bands and artists and musicians, at least mine, it's definitely those ones that burned hot and live fast and die young. Jimi Hendrix, Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine, kinda like Jeff Buckley.
Yeah.
Throw Daisy Jones and the Six right in there.
I wish they were a real band. It's bullshit.
I'm trying to channel that, Dylan, by listening to Fleetwood Mac these
There you
days,
go.
but it's not the same.
My next stock up, and you know what? I don't hate to do it because it's deserved. Stock up Reese Witherspoon. We have thrown some shade.
First of all, you have thrown the most shade. She's a lying scumbag cheater or something. I don't know what the quote was, but...
Well, hold on. Let me apologize first. I owe her an apology. We read a previous Reese Witherspoon book club. The last thing he told me. Yeah, that was absolute trash. And I still think this is some sort of pyramid scheme MLM thing going on with her book club. But thanks to Keith, he said, give Reese another shot.
Well, this is Tucker. I told Tucker I didn't want to give her another shot.
Okay, well, thanks to Tucker.
Tucker bought in. He's a high-level MLM.
He's at the top of the pyramid.
If I can just get 2 people to read this book, and if you guys can get 2 more people to read that book, I'll be retired.
But he got us, and I loved it. I thought it was a really, really great book, and I have to thank Reese Witherspoon because we have had some duds of late on the pod. And granted, I listened to the audiobook and didn't read it, but I appreciate her for actually supporting this one. And now supposedly her production company is doing the Amazon TV show, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But Reese Witherspoon and family, your beautiful family, I owe you an apology. I will not say any more hurtful things until we read the next book that's on your book club that is potentially going to be trash. But here we go. That was it. Stock up. Reese, you're back. Tucker, do you have any other stock up?
I'm curious to hear from the CoVo expert. Stock up and downs. I love invented libations. I know we were talking about this earlier. And so from somebody who loves to try different spirits in their coffee, Keith, give me your top 3 coffee-infused alcoholic beverages.
Well, I mean, the espresso martini has really kind of picked up steam. So I would say the espresso martini and CoVo are kind of the same at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised you didn't immediately, considering your heritage, jump right to an Irish coffee.
I was literally going to say the up and down seems kind of like an attack at the Irish, honestly.
The last time Gaul invaded Ireland, is that what you're concerned?
Gaul?
Gaul is like the French antiquity is Gaul.
That's too much of an intelligent comment from me. You need to bring it down like 3 levels before I can get there.
I apologize.
Thank you. Top 3, though, I think it's CoVo in the morning, CoVo in the afternoon, and CoVo at night. Those are my top 3,
answer.
I would say.
Good answer.
Yeah.
It's a good answer.
Next question. My last one was beer naps. It was briefly referenced in the book, but they said, have a beer, take a nap. And I'm not a big napper myself. I kind of wish I could be a better napper, but beer nap sounds great. And when I think about beer nap, I think a hammock's involved. That's just a personal thing. I think it's summertime. You have a beer, maybe you just mowed the lawn, did some yard work, little beer, take a quick nap on the hammock, come back feeling festive. And you're back to 0.00 BACs. You can just start all over again.
That's a great stock up.
Keith, let's jump into stock down. What do you got?
This is kind of the opposite of what Tucker had said there, or I guess the same thing, but the opposite. Artistic integrity, stock down. I'm all for artists doing their own thing, not being controlled by the man. But artistic integrity has gotten in the way of too much good music. It breaks up too many bands, people being like, it's about the art. Listen, 99.9% of people in their jobs fucking hate their jobs. They have to sell out to do their job. They have to fucking listen to the man. They have to do whatever they want to do. You're in a band. You're making millions of dollars. You're famous. You're touring the country. You're doing what everyone's dreamed of. Suck it up. Sell your soul a little bit. Don't worry about your integrity. Live the dream. Live the dream that everyone else wants to live. Keep the band together. Let's not break up the Beatles here, all right? Let's keep everyone together.
Yeah, but they're artists, Keith. You're a pragmatic person.
Do a side project. There's no one stopping them from doing their own little side gigs. This is like movie stars. I'm all for you doing that independent film that goes to Cannes, where Up and Down's from. See the tie back there? We're back, all right.
The French Connection.
Yeah, yep. We're back.
Canes? We're talking Canes here and Gaul.
This is a cultural podcast.
My life slogan is, sell your soul, sell your artistic integrity, sell out for the good of the band.
Okay. See, I could get it if it's like, hey, you smoke Virginia Slims, like smoke them on stage. It's like, yeah, cool, I'll do that. I do that anyways. You have to be somewhat of a prima donna if you're in that role. So I think if someone's trying to dictate who can write songs, who can be on the album, who can't, hey, I want to participate. Why can't I be involved?
I mean, if Billy Belichick is telling you what to do, you do it. Just because you're like, oh, I'm an athlete, I know better than him, that's not necessarily correct.
Is Billy Belichick Billy Dunne? Is that who we have in this?
No, he's their manager. Whoever that guy was, that was a complete stud.
Teddy Price.
Yeah, he's the producer. No, I get it. No one said fuck Teddy, I don't feel like. Because even when they came back after the Aurora album and like Teddy and Billy had just rechanged the whole thing with, redubbed it, put extra instruments in, changed people's vocals, everyone was down except for the miserable cunt Eddie. He just hated it.
I liked Eddie. I don't know.
What?
We'll get into that later.
Oh my. Wow.
I liked Eddie.
Get out.
Embrace debate.
Okay. My first stock down is memory. Because this book was written in a interview format and it was obviously done years in the future, people think they remember things so well. And that's a problem that I feel like so many of us have. And I was listening to Malcolm Gladwell's podcast, Revisionist History, and he was talking about this because he was defending Brian Williams when he said he was like in a helicopter that got shot at by rockets and whatnot, and people are like, that's bullshit, that didn't happen. But it turns out that memory is extremely fallible, and like, even though when you're listening to this book, you feel like those people are just lying, they might believe it 100%. And some of it is unimportant. You know, she was wearing a red shirt or she was wearing a white shirt or whatever the case is. But other ones are more specific to feelings or what that person thought. Daisy would be like, Billy was being a total dick to me. And Billy's like, I just thought she was so beautiful. You know, it was. Yeah. So I found that to be interesting. And I thought that was a fun format for the book, having so many people talking about the same thing and everyone seeing it differently. It was like almost a love segment thing, but I just need to go stock on memory and holler at my boy Malcolm Gladwell. Tucker, what else do you have for Stock Down?
I'm selling The Six.
Oh.
You think you are going to become a massive rock band, right? You're this blues rock band. You're out in California, and you pick up, a fantastic keyboardist, and you're trying to figure out a name. And the best that you can come up with is the number 6 because there's 6 people at your band. Like, I force you to be lazier than that. Like, I don't know if you can.
Oh, so you're stock downing the name itself.
100%.
Okay, got you.
100%.
Do you have a better one?
I have a few.
Okay, love that.
You give me just a quick yay or nay on these ones. Black Beauties.
Because the pills.
The pills, but considering none of them are black, I think that's probably a pass.
It's the 70s. You could get away with more.
Yeah, maybe. What else you got?
The Canadian Tuxedos.
I like that.
I don't hate it.
That's better.
But once again, no one's Canadian.
And then because they all hail from Steeler country, except for Daisy, I guess, but this was before her, the Pits.
The Pits is a nice name. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
It seems almost grungy, but...
It's like a punk band name, but I still like it.
I can still get behind it. The Pits. And they're, like you said, they're all from Pittsburgh, right?
All from Pittsburgh. This was pre-Daisy, right? I can't speak for Karen, actually. But, guys, all I'm trying to get across here is that was 90 seconds of work that I put in coming up with those names. And
what was Rod doing? Rod's got to help him out with that, right? That's his whole job.
You'd think. But Daisy Jones and the Pits? That's a good one. I like it. Keith, do you have any stock down?
Being a considerate roommate, stock down.
Okay.
So if you're staying at your parents' house, you're living there rent-free as an adult.
I did that for a bit.
Your parents are like, hey, can you help out with the yard work? Can you cook dinner tonight? Can you do this X, Y, Z? Yeah, you do that and you smile while you do it. You're happy to do that, right?
Yeah.
We got Camilla in the house, and at one point they are like, ask her, hey, do you mind like cleaning up while we're gone? We're going to go practice to make money for the band to pay for this house.
Pay for you.
You're not paying anything. Yeah, you're not, literally don't have a job. And her response was this whole big defiant act of, I didn't clean up anything. It's like, it's just a huge asshole move. That's not like this defiant stand against something. The worst thing was, everyone was like, oh, let's get burgers tonight. So everyone's into burgers. She's like, no, I want eggs and bacon. And everyone's like, yeah, like, we just bought burgers, though. Like, can we just do burgers? And she's like, okay, I'll cook them. She cooks the burgers and then says, nah, they were bad. The burgers weren't good. Throws them out. Proceeds to make eggs and bacon for everyone. And everyone's like, oh, I guess it wasn't that big of a deal. That's a fucking huge deal. You just wasted a ton of burgers. And have you ever had an egg and bacon on burger? It's delicious. It's my favorite thing.
I was going to say that the simple answer is you just make a farmhouse burger. Also, you just very easily make all of that and put it and just be like, if you want burger, here's a burger. If you want egg, you want egg. You want bacon here, or just put it all together. I agree with you there. In the first part about she didn't clean up anything, it brings me back to one of my favorite books. You know, we should probably do it on the Buddy Book Club, called If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. And like, if you wipe the puke off the toilet seat of their house and they come back, they're like, wow, this looks amazing. They're just going to expect that from you going forward.
They're not asking for a rent payment, though.
Yeah, but Billy owns the band. They're nothing without him. So if Billy's like, give her a break, it is what it is.
What is she doing all day?
She's chilling. She's thinking about how she's going to have 3 kids and then lupus.
God damn it.
Keith's next stock up's going to be lupus. You're a sick fuck, Keith. All right. Tucker, do you have any other stock downs?
The U.S. government. I am a cheap bastard, and so I got the audiobook through my local public library.
Libby, props.
Until I didn't know who was talking, because every time a different character would start to talk in the book, the first like half of a second got cut off. And so it took me 30% of the book before I was like, oh, this voice character is Billy. This voice character is Karen.
Oh, no.
And so I had a really tough go at it. I had to go hybrid version for a while.
You went
and do
analog?
A hard copy.
Crazy.
I went analog and digital just to kind of finish this book because, I'm a trooper and I'm a team player.
Wait, was the file like corrupted or what was going on?
It had to have been.
Anytime like the new character would speak, I would say like Billy, blah, 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 right? And then it was like Daisy. Like, I ran out of pills, so I had to go home.
But by the end, you could tell which person was which.
Yeah.
Like, it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, you knew Pablo was Pablo.
Yeah.
And exactly.
Well, hey, Tucker, thanks for joining us for this. It's been great. Maybe our best stock up, stock down. I appreciate a prepared guest. And when he also comes in costume, what else can you ask for?
Thank you for having me. As always, it's always been about the music for me. So I appreciate coming on. Looking forward for the second invite when you guys do Stephen King's The Stand. Really looking forward to it.
Yes,
Okay.
It's one of my favorite books. I'm totally down. Let's go. Are you going to light fires? You're going to light the whole place on fire when you come on for that?
You'll have to wait and see, but I'll come correct.
All right, cool. Well, take care. Let's transition into some love-hate. Keith, what'd you love about Daisy Jones and the Six?
Yeah, we touched on a little bit already, but I just loved how real it felt. Every character kind of brought their own perspective that you could definitely understand and see where they're coming from, or at least get their motivations. There's a lot of books that are just good versus evil, and there's no really ambiguity about anything, or, oh, is that really how it played out? It's just, this is the story, this is what happened, right? This is like a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different things going in people's heads that all led to kind of this relationship. And it's really just a book about characters. There's not really a big story going on. It's just like a character book, which typically I would say is, I'm like, oh, that's not for me. But this book, it was so well written that I loved it. I thought it was really, really good.
Yeah, it wasn't even about a band. Like, it was, obviously. But what I'm trying to say is it wasn't necessarily about this rise and fall of a band and like super cool band stories. Like Jonah, the Rolling Stone guy, said, I can get that anywhere, but having something deeper is more interesting. And I think that ties back to this book because although The Guys is a 10-year rock band, 10 years oral history, it's really just about people and people in this band and how relationships and emotions and all that stuff happens. And it ties into my first love, which was like the memory aspect. And I know we kind of talked about this in Stock Up, Stock Down. But I think that it was just so well woven by Taylor Jenkins Reid in the sense of using that oral history. You could just tell a linear story, but using the memory aspect of how people's memories are changing. And even though some of this stuff was very little, some of the other stuff was bigger plot points, or at least stuff that maybe people didn't want to divulge. And I thought that was a fun way of making this feel more real while also making us as the reader or listener question what we actually know to be real. But the twist aspect where, and it wasn't really even, they didn't make it a big deal that it was a twist, and I appreciated that. But having the interviewer be Julia, Billy's daughter, I just thought that was super interesting because at the beginning of the interviews, Billy's not talking at all about his feelings towards Daisy, but then presumably towards the end of their interviews, he opens up a little bit to his daughter and starts saying, how he really felt about Daisy at the time, which makes a lot of sense as to why he was cagey about it at the beginning. And also, I know you're not a huge Camilla fan from our previous conversation in Stock Up, Stock Down, but it makes a lot of sense why all the people would talk really nicely about Camilla, considering she died relatively young from lupus, that it's like, you don't want to talk ill of the dead kind of thing. So maybe they were just being nice because of that.
Yeah, I didn't have many hates, but the one hate I did have, I actually didn't like that it was the daughter interviewing. Are you really going to talk shit about someone's mom that just passed away, or are you going to talk shit about someone's dad that's still alive, like right to their face? Like, I thought it was an interesting twist, but you wouldn't want that as a subjective biography.
Yeah, it seemed like that was the only way that everyone would agree to do this interview. I could only imagine the articles came out like, what happened to Daisy Jones and the Sick, all that stuff. And for them to agree to do an interview was like, hey, Camilla's dead. Julia wants to do this. And they all remember her as a child, so they'd be willing to do it. It seemed plausible for me. And I do have to defend Camilla for a second, because although you were upset that she didn't make burgers for everyone and she didn't clean their apartment, but I do have to defend Camilla because I know this is a fictional character because it just doesn't seem like a person could be this perfect, but the amount of trust she has in Billy blew me away. Hey, as long as you're sober, like, I know you love this woman, no problem. Like, I know you're going to come back to your family. To be able to let them go on tour together and let them write songs together. And he was saying, even in the book, how he was out till 2 a.m. writing songs with Daisy as a sober man, and she's addicted to everything. And for him not to do anything sexual or even close to it or even emotionally, I just think that she was the most well-rounded human in there. And at the end, all the stuff she says to Daisy and how she like actually really does support Daisy. And then even on her deathbed, she's like, Billy and Daisy have to write me a song. I just thought Camilla was a star of the show. So I know you probably disagree.
Again, that's commendable for her to be able to trust that much, but she wasn't really a key part of the story, like, in my mind. She didn't do anything to help the band out.
She kept Billy sober.
She broke the band up pretty much. We don't want our rock stars sober, kid. We want our rock stars out there living the dream, doing as many drugs as possible. If he weren't married, they'd still be together. They'd still be producing good music. Do you want music that's going to last forever, or do you want a nice relationship, kid? What do you want? That's the selfish question for you right there. So I turned that back around on you.
I want both.
Think of your favorite artist. If you just said, hey, if the lead singer could have a...
Rafi? You talking about Rafi?
Is that your favorite artist?
We talked about this in a previous podcast and you had no idea who Rafi was.
Oh, isn't that like a kid's show?
Yes, Rafi makes kids music.
Yeah, but think about if, okay, the last 2 albums didn't happen because he decided to be sober and have a caring relationship. Would you be pissed? Probably,
so you're
right?
saying if Eminem didn't write Kim?
Yeah, if Eminem just released one album and then was like, all right, never mind, I'm done. I'm not releasing any more music. Then that'd be fucking pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, but then you think of Dave Grohl, who went through the Nirvana thing, is now just like a great family man. His daughter plays music. He brings her on stage every now and then. It's wonderful. Why can't you have both?
I don't know. That's a good question. Ask Camila.
I can't. She got lupus. What else did you love about Daisy Jones and the Six?
You had mentioned earlier this could have been about anything, not necessarily a band, and it actually did remind me a lot of The Last Dance, which was like the best documentary I've seen. Yeah. I don't watch a lot of documentaries. It was the same exact thing where you have everyone's perspective around like a very, very polarizing, and you don't even need to be a fan of basketball, but polarizing figure in Michael Jordan, polarizing team, things like that. And it was super, super interesting. And even people were like, oh, he was an asshole, but you understood all of a sudden, oh, sometimes it's okay to be an asshole if you're so driven to do certain things. Billy was kind of like that in a way. But you understood what he was doing in order to get the best out of the band. Yeah,
there's no question that Billy wasn't the best bandmate. In the way of The Last Dance, like, Michael Jordan was not the best teammate. He would talk shit to his own teammates. He would belittle his own teammates.
He wanted people to just basically work as hard as him.
Yeah.
And if they weren't, he was like, yo, you got to pick it up.
And I think that ties back to Billy, where he was looking for that from his own bandmates.
I think he stepped on people, though.
I was going to say, when Graham came out with that good song, and it was like, no, it doesn't belong on the album. And he was like, wow, I wrote a really good song. People loved it. And even Karen says that he sold it to another band, and it became a huge hit. So understanding, Billy was definitely had a big ego and thought that he was the only one that could write songs and whatnot. And it sucks when it's your own brother that you're telling no to, and everyone seemed to bow down to Billy, the fact that Graham didn't stand up for his own song. But you see that kind of stuff. I've been watching the Beatles documentary. It's interesting seeing them there, and like George Harrison just leaves the band in the middle of the whole thing. It's like, wait, what? And they eventually get him to come back. But Paul, the whole time, is kind of being dickish to George. George's like, oh, I want to play it this way. And Paul's like, nah, whatever. And that's a 4-person band. This is a 7-person band. There's so many different egos, and the more popular you get, especially when you make Aurora and they're already very popular, you can only imagine how your ego would just increase tenfold. Imagine what would tear us apart when Warner Brothers bought the Buddy Book Club. I'd be writing love songs to you and you'd be falling in love with me, but we'd have to break up because our respective girlfriends told us that we spent too much time together. You couldn't imagine that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's fair points.
All I'm going to say is based on the fact that we're having this conversation, like this is a real band, just shows how good this book was. Both have totally different opinions and they had totally different memories. It's just a really well done woven story to make you want to talk about it. I know that this is the Buddy Book Club, but this is one of the few times that I felt I could be part of a larger book club and we could sit here and argue about this for hours. So if you guys want to write in, we'd love to hear some stuff. I did really love the ensemble cast for the audiobook. I think this would be a fine book to read, but considering how much effort they put into finding a really good cast, even just Pablo Schreiber and Jennifer Beals, who play Daisy and Billy, it was just so good. You felt the heartbreak in Jennifer Beals' voice, and Billy, you felt his addiction creeping in and his questioning. They're both professional actors. Like, why wouldn't this be phenomenal? I just don't know if by reading this, I could have pulled out the sort of emotions that I felt from listening to it.
Yeah, I thought the key too was like they didn't overact it. It could have definitely been ruined by some certain love scene where the actor starts breaking down crying or like overacting or overemphasizing things. It sounded like you were talking to him in a room. They weren't doing anything to overshadow any other actor or any other, interviewee in it. So it just made it feel real.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. What'd you hate?
So this isn't really about the book, but a lot of these characters I didn't really love. That's what made them all like multidimensional and real.
Sorry to interrupt you here, but when you said this wasn't really about the book, I thought you were going to be like Cadbury cream eggs. Like they're not that good.
Well, that's fact. I mean, Easter candies overall are overrated.
Oh my God, I couldn't disagree with you more, but go continue.
Peeps? Get the fuck out of
Peeps
here.
are trash. No, but
that's the number one Easter candy.
Yeah, those are trash. But the hard shell chocolates, like whatever those eggs are, those things are phenomenal. Cadbury cream eggs are delicious.
You know what they have? They're called Reese's. Reese's
Trust
cups.
me.
Eat one of those.
I have some.
That's already the best hard-covered chocolate.
No, you're talking about Reese's Pieces.
I'm talking about either one. Reese's Cups, Reese's Pieces. I don't like jelly beans. I don't like Peeps. I don't like the fake Easter chocolates. They taste like gross.
Keith, no one's on your side now. You chagrined a woman that died of lupus, all right?
Anyways, I didn't really like Daisy or Billy, and they're the two main characters, I really hated Daisy's whole, I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to do whatever I want. That's their problem if they have an issue with me. And then the next sentence would be, no one cared about me. No one really thought about my feelings or how I was feeling. Do you understand the issue there, right? If you don't care about anyone else and how they're feeling, then no one's going to care about you back. There's this huge hypocrisy that's going on there. And then Billy, obviously, with the whole, I was all about the music. I'm about the music. As long as I take all the credit for it.
Yeah.
Like, he kept on being like, yeah, like, I'll do whatever makes it sound good. But really, he just wanted the credit and wanted the band to revolve around him. Ultimately, he should have just had his own band. Both of them. These people should have had their own things because they just wanted all the creative input without anyone else talking back to them. So the fact that they were in a band didn't really make sense.
I mean, once again, I think this just shows how good the book was, that the main two protagonists were actually antagonists. And I think I'm using that correctly. I don't really know. Because there is no bad guy except for Eddie in this book. And they had to be their own bad guys. And I think that plays a lot to just human emotion. And I think TJR, who that's just what I'm going to call her from now on because she kicks ass, she deserves it. But TJR just captured that vibe so well that you're supporting these people throughout the entire book, but at the same time you're like, wow, Billy's a total egomaniac and like a kind of a dick.
Right.
And Daisy, and I'm not going to chagrin her for the like woman power. I can dress how I want. I can be what I want. I totally respect that. It's up to the guys not to objectify me. But at the same time, she's saying she doesn't care, but all she does is care.
If I came to the studio wearing a Speedo, people would be like, yo, you're gross. You know what I mean?
Well, I just went from 6 to midnight, so I don't know what you're talking about. My first hate was Niccolo. And not for all of the reasons why he's hateful. Homie almost burned down the historic Omni Parker House in downtown Boston. The Omni Parker House is the longest continuously operating hotel in the United States. It's been operating since 1855, formerly the Parker House Hotel. Interestingly enough, I did not connect these two, but Formerly referenced Ho Chi Minh used to work there.
Wait, what?
Yes, the leader of the Communist Party of Vietnam used to work there. As well as Mark Twain used to go there. Emeril Lagasse worked there. But this is like an extremely historic place. And it's super cheap. If you come to Boston, you can stay at the Omni Parker House for like super cheap. It's not a very nice hotel.
Quick aside, I got kicked out of that hotel.
What? Yeah, the bar?
No, I wasn't staying there. I was in a room with people that were staying there.
Oh, you're partying too loud?
We were playing like apples to apples and got kicked out.
Oh.
Hey, I'm basically a rock band, is what I'm saying.
Exactly. But he almost burned that place down. It's super historic. He has so many other hateful qualities, but the fact that he almost lit a cigarette, fictionally almost burned down, fuck you, Nicolo. What else do you ever hate?
I think this is a hate, but it's really more a love somehow. It wasn't really much of a plot, which I usually do not like. And then they're also, the way that the story is told is that's not something I would typically like. But all those things, the fact that I still liked it because of both those things I would typically say, oh, that's not for me, kind of made it that made it even higher up in my scale. It'd be like reading a genre or watching a movie that you wouldn't typically like and liking it. And it's like, oh, this like makes it even better than it should be.
It's like when I watch one of the rom-coms you suggest, and I'm like, you know what? He wasn't wrong. This is a decent movie.
If you don't like Hitch, kid, I don't know what to tell you.
No, I do like Hitch.
What are your top 5 rom-coms? I mean, you can't say mine's wrong and then not provide your own list.
And I have a problem with the rom-com because people think some things are rom-coms that probably aren't.
I defined it on the list. Did you not read the article?
I know. I did read your article on buddybookclub.com. I read it, yes. But you did define it. So I would say Love Actually is probably my number 1. My number 2 would be Crazy Stupid Love.
Okay. I mean, that's on the list. I like that a lot. You got to write an article combating mine. That's what I would like to see. And then I'll write one combating yours, and we just go back and forth because it's really important.
Rom-coms can be rated R.
Yeah.
The only thing I had for hate was that I just wanted the songs to be sung. And especially with an audiobook where it's like you just take a stop and have someone play some music. But they'd reference lines or like this quick ballad. I want to hear the song. I want to feel that.
Casting character section for us, I think, is big because I feel you need actual actors that can sing.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Have you seen movies and shows where they just play a song and they mouth it? I hate that. I would rather... What's the one with Lady Gaga in it there and Bradley Cooper? Like, that was so good because you could tell they actually went up there. It wasn't some recording they pressed play on. They actually went up there and, like, played that live.
Yeah, I almost hate that they already made that movie because they would be so good. All right, well, before we get into cast the movie, let's talk about listener mail. Keith, what do we have for listener mail?
Josh from Tampa?
You've got mail.
What would be in your rider? Josh had mentioned that Van Halen wanted M&Ms without the brown M&Ms in them as a crazy one. So do you have any special requests or anything you would put in your rider, which for those that don't know is basically like what you request if you're a famous person and you go to an arena or anything like that. You say, this is what I want in my trailer or wherever I am at.
Well, I think the M&Ms without the brown M&Ms thing was actually, and thanks Josh for writing in, appreciate that. But I think that was more for that they paid attention to the rest of the rider. It was kind of like a contract. Like
That's
in the
correct.
last.
Josh also mentioned that.
Oh, okay. Mine would be a case of Miller Lite that's exactly 34 degrees Fahrenheit.
It's about to freeze, but doesn't freeze.
Yeah. So, and this is obviously like if I'm in a rock band.
Yeah.
I want some Dots pretzels. Have you ever had Dots pretzels?
No, I have not.
They're kind of new. They're seasoned pretzels. They're phenomenal. It's like some woman in North Dakota like made these, and for some reason they're available now. They're delicious. So I want a bag of Dots pretzels. I want some Miller Lite. I want a masseuse. And I want a masseuse in the hotel for after the show. So after the show...
Oh, okay.
You know? No, not like that. Jesus.
Kid wants to end the show in a happy way.
I'm saying like before you go wild. We had a show.
You want to basically loosen the muscles up. I would think you'd want that before you play.
Or, that's what I was going to say, or the masseuse in the arena, which ties into my last one. If you want it in the arena, I'm going to want a crazy straw so that I can drink my Miller Lights that are 34 degrees as I'm getting a massage. Through the face hole, I want a nice Miller Lite.
A masseuse, I think, is a really smart one. Deshaun Watson is big into it too, and he's a great guy.
Oh my God, no. I'm just thinking more like you're on the road, like you're sitting in a bus, you're traveling here and there, and then you have to perform a show. Like, I want to loosen up my muscles.
I'm serious. That's a really good. I like that. So I think the biggest issue with people going to city and kind of just repeat, every single day seems the same to a lot of these guys. So what I would do is make it more memorable and remember each place is I would put the onus on them and say, hey, give me your best sandwich place. Give me your best, local beer. Give me this. And basically when you get to your room, you don't know what's going to be there, but it's going to be the local delicacies, right?
Oh, that's a great call. So you go to Detroit, you get a Detroit style pizza. You go to Philly, you get a Primo sub or something like that.
That kind of empowers people. Like, oh, I got to give them my best spot, and then you get it, and you're telling everyone about it. Oh, this place is great in Philadelphia. We got it for the concert, and each spot you're now remembering because you're tying that food in with that.
And food is memory. Food is memory. I like that. I like that a lot.
The other two things, obviously I'd be doing a ton of drugs since I'm in a rock band.
Yeah, so Miami, they're just giving you the best Coke.
Yeah. If I weren't, I would just always have CoVos ready to go for pre-concert. You got to get lubed up a little bit, obviously. Tool is my favorite band, but this is something the drummer does. I'm not sure if he requests this or not, but he basically has the local team. So if he's in Boston, he gets a Larry Bird jersey, and he wears it when he's playing.
Oh.
Basically, every spot he goes to, he wears a jersey from that city, which is great for many reasons. One, it's a collectible item. This is when I played in Boston. This is when I played here. And then it's the best thing to possibly wear when you're on stage, right?
It's almost kitschy. It's almost like Joe Biden going to Boston and being like, how about Larry Bird, Bill Russell? It's almost like he's playing to the crowd.
But when you're up there playing, you don't need to worry about sweating too much. You don't need to worry about if your shirt's too tight, what you look like. You just play, and you're very comfortable.
I like your rider, and I like mine as well. And one other thing I might add to mine is because I always forget to put deodorant on because I don't expect I'm going to do strenuous activity. I feel like I would be the same way if I was in a rock band.
I think right when you get off stage, though, you're grabbing a couple Miller Lite shower beers, right? Going AK Mitch Rat.
Oh, good God, yes. I completely lost track because we're having too much fun here. So before we cast the movie, let's talk about pick your character. Keith, who do you have?
Well, I know you did not like Eddie, but my two favorites were...
There's no way Eddie can be your favorite.
Pete and Eddie were my two favorites.
Oh my God, get the fuck out of here.
I'll tell you why. Each of them were half me. So Pete is just this quiet, happy dude that was content with everything. He was like, this isn't real life. We're living a fantasy. Just appreciate the moment.
I agree with you. there. But Pete did not speak until the last 5 minutes.
Which is exactly what I want.
He was like, I just made a turf installment company in Phoenix. And I remember I was in that band one time.
I love that mentality. He just had a great time. It was part of his life. And he's like, I'm not going to talk shit about any of these people.
So you want to fly so far under the radar that you're just playing your bass, had his wife in Philadelphia, and was just like, all right, I'm going to spend the weekends with her, and then I'm going to be in this band. It feels like he wasn't living the rock dream.
That's half of me. Like I said, I like the aspect that he was content, and he basically Bill Belichicked it. He's like, that stays in-house, which I respect. And then also, again, he wasn't complaining.
Okay, now defend Eddie, please.
The other half is the Eddie is calling people on their shit. I know you said he's whiny, but a lot of times he would literally just point and say, this person's being a dickhead. And he was the only one that ever said anything. He said what everyone else was thinking, but no one had the balls to really actually do anything. And Eddie did that, which I respected. A lot of his takes were right. My favorite scene was that one night where everything comes together.
When Daisy and Billy first connect over Honeycomb.
Exactly.
And Eddie gets all butthurt that Billy took his guitar and he smashes it.
Billy didn't volunteer to go play guitar. Eddie went out there and did all her sets for her. And then once he was like, oh, this is working well, I'm going to go out there and then steal the shine. That's such a dickhead play. It's basically someone building something up, and then you go in there and be like, okay, now it's at its peak. I'm going to now take credit for it.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I could not disagree with you more.
I could not disagree with you more.
Eddie does not know how to be in a rock band. You're trying to be the biggest band in the fucking world. You're trying to blow these people's socks off every single night. Yes, Eddie did his job. In the second quarter and the third quarter, he made his shots. Good for him. We really appreciate it. But now it's the end of the game. The score is tight, and you need the aforementioned Michael Jordan to come in here and finish the game, aka Billy, and instead you cry. If the house didn't go down, then I would have said, you know what, Eddie was right. But that shot them to fame, and Eddie would have taken it while he's staring at Daisy like, oh yeah, I wish I was with Daisy. Oh my God, if I just got 2 minutes with Daisy, I'd show her what it's really like to be with a rhythm guitarist. He's a fucking rhythm guitarist. Your job is just to keep the pace.
He wasn't complaining that he was up there. All he was complaining about was bro, if you're going to come in at the last second and try to take the shine, at least be like, hey, do you mind if I jump in here? And he just grabs his own guitar, which we all know musicians are super serious about their instruments. Like, you don't fuck with someone's instrument. Everyone knows that. And he just grabs an instrument from him, which is bullshit in my mind. I don't even play instruments, and I know that you can't do that shit. So he was more pissed that, one, he grabbed the instrument from him and then didn't hand it back to him.
Eddie just said, I'm a pussy, I'm going to take my ball and leave. He's soft.
He played the whole show, and then he smashed the guitar because he's pissed. I sympathize with him.
Eddie is not a rock guy. The only redeeming moment that Eddie had was when he said something nice about someone, because he doesn't say anything nice about anybody. And he said Daisy's song was pure rock and roll. Right? That was like the one time everyone else was like, man, whatever. And he was like, no, that was pure rock and roll, which he was right. But then he followed it up with, and damn, she's so hot. If I could have been in the recording studio with her and no one else there.
No,
it's like,
he didn't say
Eddie,
that.
you're such a creep. Like, get the fuck
First of all,
out
you needed
here.
someone to tell the truth. Do we know that Daisy Jones is hot if Eddie doesn't say so? No, we don't. He's just pointing out the facts. He's a straight shooter.
Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll agree to disagree. Eddie's a fucking loser.
You don't get annoyed with like the small things. This is like a Larry David thing with him, and I agree with him. It's just like the small things that you have to do. Everyone knows it's Billy's band, but like all you have to do, Billy, is do the littlest things in order to keep everyone together. Instead, you're like, no. Not only is it my band, but I'm gonna fucking take a piss on you and show you that's my band.
No,
like,
I get it. Billy should have said like thank you after.
yeah, that's it.
Eddie.
That's all he was complaining
Yeah.
about. He wasn't like he was like, oh, I should have been the one up there. Like you.
No, that's exactly what he said.
No,
He said,
Eddie
"I
was
should
like,
be the one
Billy
up
was the
there."
best front man I've ever seen. He was like incredible in front of people. He said that all the time. He was just shitting on him for being a dickhead, which I agree with.
Agree to disagree. I'll take Warren because Warren totally stayed out of the spotlight. He was the chills guy in the band. He's Teflon for bad vibes. He just wants to rock out, smoke a doobie after the show, and stay out of the drama. And I'm also not sure if it's because he's like not clouded with all the emotional stuff, or if the weed gives him a superpower to see through it. But he never falls for the bullshit. Even your boy Eddie, when Nicolo came around, he's like, yeah, that guy seems like a pretty good guy. In the book, they're doing like smash cuts between everyone's version of Nicolo, and they cut to Warren and goes, oh, Nicolo? Yeah, he was a con man. Immediately knows, just reads it. All right, well, let's cast the movie. Who do you have for Eddie? Is it Jesus fucking Christ? I don't know.
I
who
didn't
you
actually
have.
put Eddie. I didn't think it was that important.
Good. Yeah, it wasn't that important. Exactly.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it earlier. The biggest thing for me would be that there's authenticity in terms of the actors being able to like see them as actual singers. For Daisy Jones, I had my girl Zendaya.
Oh, she can sing?
Okay, you don't know Replay? Replay is my jam.
No.
Oh, you've definitely heard it. I think
That's
it
for
has,
Daisy Jones?
Yeah,
That's perfect.
for there. What about you?
So it's funny you say that you want people that actually sing, because I feel like that's not like thing Hollywood does. They did the Beatles movie Across the Universe, which actually got very poorly rated, but the director insisted that all the actors sing like on set, not like sing and then they dub them over. Like, no, like on set you are going to sing and that's what we're going to record, which I don't think they're doing with the Amazon show. And by the way, we didn't say, but there's a television adaptation coming out on Amazon Prime. I think it's like 10 episodes. I'm sure it's going to be very good. But I would have said Lenny Kravitz's daughter, who is in the recent Batman movie. I don't know if she can sing, but I'm going to just assume so based on her parentage.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she's gorgeous, and she fits the Daisy role
here?
perfectly. I want to get into a recording booth with her. Oh, my God, if there's no one else in there, I'd slip her a Mickey. Fucking Eddie's a creep.
You're just adding in extracurriculars here.
That's how I remember the book, all right? Memory is an interesting thing. That's how I remember it.
I think I already cast this in the last episode, but that's okay. Billy Dunne, Harry Styles. I mean, Zedna and Harry Styles, you're not watching that movie, right? Or show.
Zedna? Did you say Zedna?
Zendaya. Fuck, I can't read. Damn
Yeah,
it.
it's okay.
Zendaya and Harry Styles, you have to watch that. I don't care what they're in. You're watching that, right? And we know Harry Styles has some acting chops, so.
I mean, he was great in Dunkirk, but I think you need someone older and like a little more refined. And I also don't know why they don't just cast Pablo Schreiber, who he already knows the lines. He was so good in the audiobook. He's great in The Wire, as Tucker mentioned. Season 2, very underrated season. He's great in Den of Thieves, although he plays a very different character. Half-brother to Liev Schreiber, who we all know is the best voice of all NFL films. He's got just such a great voice and a great vibe, and I think he would wear the Canadian tuxedo well, that why not just give Pablo the shot?
He's 6'5", and wow, I looked up a picture of him. He's absolutely fucking yoked. So
yeah.
I'm in.
That's Den of Thieves, Pablo
We just need
Schreiber.
sex appeal and lead singer vibes. That's what we need.
All right, so, I mean, I think it's pretty clear, but would you recommend this book to our listeners if they haven't checked it out yet?
Yeah, I was definitely a big fan. I've heard, too, and I had this on my list, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I don't know if I said that right. That's been on my list. I definitely want to read that now. Same author as that book. Definitely a big fan. It's going to be my top 10, maybe top 5. I don't know. I got to look at the list. Yeah.
Wow. I agree with that as well. Huge fan of this. And also, I heard a lot of people like The Seven Husbands of whatever. And I'm down to check that out. I'm going to order it on Libby right now because I assume it's probably on back order.
It's a beach read, I think.
Well, I think this is kind of a beach read. And I think because it's a beach listen, it makes it even better because there's nothing worse than at the beach when you want to switch over from laying on your stomach to laying on your back and you're trying to like block out the sun with your book, but then you're concerned the tan is going to be uneven or it's just like uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable to read. You know, it's not a good spot. This is where I like to bring 2 books to the beach. One book being in physical format where you're sitting on your belly and you're reading it. And then when you want to flip over, you close that book, you put the earbuds in, you listen to a different book. This is that book.
That's
Put
impressive.
in your earbuds, enjoy it. I loved it very much. What's the next book? What do you got coming out next?
It's MISTBORN's first book in the series called The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. So this is an epic fantasy novel. I believe we're doing up until the end of part 2, around midway point for this one. Looking forward to it.
Keith, Tucker, Dylan, it's been real. Or should I say Keith and the 2? We out? All right. Well, bye now.
Bye now.